Hi everyone, welcome to another Art of the Game over here at Cabbit Crossing. And here at Art of the Game, we game masters give you tips, tricks, do a little debating, whatever. And we are joined with a guest, GM Keenan. And today we're going to talk about, what are we talking about, Woody?
Okay, so this is actually one of our lost episodes because I went through the whole playlist and was listening to the whole thing, and there were a number of ideas that got floated that were like, oh, we'll talk about that, and then we never did. So and this is actually, I think, was probably on my original topics list anyways. So one of the critical techniques for building player investment and actually discovering what the story is, allowing it to kind of evolve and develop, is to look at consequences as a storytelling technique, because the players and their characters will tend to walk through the world like they own the place, with no regard for the consequences of the decisions they make. And you can be kind of a hard ass about it, or you can be just like, let it go, whatever. But the reality is that if you look at some of the natural outcomes of some of these decisions and things that they do, you can actually create immense drama and discover storylines and plots that you never would have found before. And it also, I think, is also better for creating investment, because the players are now, it creates more connection to what's going on. Marks, why don't you start with this one, since you didn't get as much participation last episode?
I mean, yes, I agree. It's all no. It's I think when you're writing a story, or when you're GMing or whatever, it's all about the consequence. It's all about the actions the players or your characters take, and then what the ramifications of it, and it creates a ripple effect throughout. So with your players, obviously, especially if you're high schoolers playing, you're probably going to go and do chaotic stuff.
Yes,
that's when they get in trouble with the King's Guards or whatever happens, right? And you can follow that line. But if they become friends of NPCs, you put them in danger, or the NPC betray them, or they destroy some evil overlord dude, but that allows some other overlord dude to make some move. Allowing the players
pick a pocket.
Yes, picking a pocket obviously can do all sorts of stuff. We had a fun one in Call of Cthulhu where one of the players picked somebody's pocket. That I fondly remember. So I mean, all that really helps. Like I usually will have, I had one longer campaign of Monster of the Week where that came up a lot, where the players, their actions, I built on them, like their interactions with NPCs, whether they were positive or negative, I would build on that. So NPCs that were maybe going to be, to me, were only going to be there for a very short period of time, became like reoccurring characters because the players liked them, or they had an interesting dynamic, or romantic interests, or whatever their characters did. And I would just play off of that, and that would feed the story and let it grow in new directions.
You're having romantic interest with your high schoolers?
No.
Geez,
no, that's not correct.
So is this going to be the next controversy for an Irish YouTuber to cover?
Yeah, that's right. It'll be facepalm. It just got worse.
But yes, adult players with NPCs. I don't know. Anyway,
that's what we call the fade to black mullet.
Yeah. I think when it comes to running a game, and at any given moment they're about to deal with something, right? The best thing is that they're dealing with if they're dealing with the consequence of something they just did. A second best thing is they're dealing with the consequence of something they did a while ago. And the third, if you really got nothing, then introduce something new. But if you keep introducing new things instead of their consequences, it actually brings a lot of chaos in a bad way to the story, because there's just too many loose ends to keep track of, and it causes the mind to just kind of fizzle out and not really pay attention to things too much. Whereas if you go ahead,
if you run on consequences, there's also a story continuity that builds too, because the events flow in a way where the players see the connection to it.
Yeah, there's it reminds me of a writing concept. Mary Robinette, I can't remember her name exactly, but she's friends with Brandon Sanderson. That's what's more. But she often teaches a concept of, like, every time a character is trying to do something, or we're talking about fiction here. Whenever your fictional character does something, always have like like yes and or no but. You always have something else on top, and not just a binary yes no. This happens. You always add some complications, consequences. So it helps with the story.
I've actually played with DMs who do have that rigid structure of the module doesn't tell me what to do here, so I'm not going to deal with it, right? And you really got to get out of that.
Yeah, totally.
It'll ruin the game if you stick to that too hard, because it is more important to have the consequences of your actions and building on that.
The module is just an outline.
Yeah. Well, some modules are built to be more than an outline, I think. But I would say even then, as a DM, you should not use it in that way. You should use it as an outline regardless.
One thing I learned with, I'm sorry, Mo, say one more thing.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Keenan looks like he had something he wants to interject.
Because it's a bit off what Greg just said. Because one thing I learned is I was trying to do like Darker Trails. There's a timeline on stuff, and I realized I got to throw this timeline out. It was not working. So
yeah.
So you gotta play around with stuff and see how the flow is going.
I kind of wish modules would stop doing that. Actually, it adds a lot of stress for no reason.
Yeah. Well, and if your characters people want to keep moving forward. They don't want to stop and rest for the day. They're just let's keep doing stuff. So that causes problems.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
Keenan, go.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, it just kind of harkens back to what a story is, basically. Consequences are definitely a part of what a story is. Because a story is it's a character with a problem is the most the tiniest little encapsulation of a story is a character has a problem and it complicates.
Yeah.
And then he solves it, right? But your first solution is going to fail or it's going to create other consequences, right? And that's how you make a story interesting.
Yep.
If Bilbo and Frodo's got the ring now, and if all he does is say to Gandalf, "Hey, wait, are you friends with a bunch of eagles?" and roll credits, it's not as interesting a story, right? So you make, and that doesn't give you space to explore a theme either. And that can be interesting. You can let the players, you can turn you could turn a serious story about the players contracted to run security for a high-level wedding into a comedy because the rogue decides he wants a piece of the cake.
Yeah,
and
everything
the thing
can go wrong after that.
Yeah, the thing he should absolutely not be doing.
Right. Right. But you kind of want that. I want that. Yeah. I want my rogue to look at the big wedding cake and say, "Nah, I want a piece of that."
I had a situation in one of the Rifts campaigns that I was running. Go ahead, Greg. Take a shot because I just mentioned the Rifts RPG.
You got to show the cover.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Hold on. Let me grab the book here. We gotta keep our
kitty cat.
Okay, yeah,
right. Gotta keep the tradition.
Here's our Rifts RPG drinking game. Okay, there you go.
I've never seen that before.
Yes, you have. So. You've been a fan of that as long as me. No, but we had this one where one of my players decided to pick the pocket of a supernatural creature, not realizing what it was. He gets caught naturally, and then mouths off to the guy. It kind of impresses him, so the guy offers him a drink. That's a test to see how are you worthy. And he takes this demon's drink, which obviously kills him, because what it takes to get a demon drunk is it's lethal to people. So he drops dead. And then, and I didn't think he was going to drink it, but he did. And then one of the other players is like, "You killed my friend." And he pulls out a gun and just starts opening fire with a plasma weapon and burns down the bar. Yeah.
Oh no.
And never even touches the monster. The monster just shrugs it off. Right. And so, there's a double whammy right there. They basically got kicked out of town. They had to run. And whatever they thought they were doing the campaign just changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then the guy that got his character died, which ironically was actually planning to betray the party. That's the funny thing. They're all defending their friend who was never meant to be their friend. He was actually going to be one of the villains of the story before he got himself killed. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think there's some really strong modules out there that focus on the world and characters. more than the individual like plot. I think Waterdeep Dragon Heist is one of those. Actually, it does a pretty good job of just setting up the whole city for you, and then it does have a plot that almost everyone, especially me, ignores for the most part. I like this type of modules because they do give you a framework to build at the consequences and people and things like that, and then you can literally just halfway through the module be like, okay, module doesn't matter anymore. Now we just deal with whatever the hell they've done so far.
Well, I've been pretty impressed by Curse of Strahd, but I will say Curse of Strahd is not organized as well as it. I feel like there's another chapter that needs to put all the plot threads together for you because it's really thick to try to see how everything's connected.
Well, on the subject of modules, we do have the Quest for the Gorhon currently on sale at miniaturedragon.com, which does have a big consequences component. It's actually one of the entire plot of the module sets up a consequence if you were going to use it to build further adventures.
We definitely did not do anything that will cause downstream effects when we played.
Oh,
it.
No,
not at all.
No, not at all. Actually, it's funny for you when you guys ran that adventure and ran it without a single combat encounter. You guys actually created probably in terms of consequences, you probably did the best job of making a future enemy of anyone that's run the game so far.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. You got to kill them all. Make sure they come after you later.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone's an enemy for us if we were to go forward. Anyway, but yeah, that's a good thing. If you get to that point of a story where there's just so many things going on with so many consequences and so many things you can pull from, my advice is stop coming up with new threads. Just stop. Like, you got enough probably. Just use the ones you have, because there's nothing, if a new demon comes on the scene, you've never seen him before, and he steps through the mist, and you're like, oh shit, a demon. Okay, we gotta fight him. But on the other hand, if this I don't know, lich comes through the mist, and you're like, oh shit, that's the lich that we killed, and we didn't find this phylactery. And it's like suddenly it's like, oh wow, yeah, it's much more impactful to have.
Or the lich is the guy you killed, and he made a deal and came back.
Yeah,
like, I think that like there's kind of a critical mass there, because really all you have to do is just do, as a GM, do enough of this to get the players involved. And once they get to the point where they're committed to the story, and you've got them entrenched in it, and they're now pursuing it along their own initiative, I think you're at a point where it's like, you don't have to do as much world building and story development. Like, you're arbitrating what's happening and building on these events, but you don't necessarily have to throw so much of the stuff back in their face. It's like the consequences, I think, it's always an important component, but I think it's really helpful in the beginning for getting the players really invested in the story.
Yeah. And I think we've said it before, like, you should never really have a combat that's not meaningful or somehow drives into the plot, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a fan of random encounters.
Right. So I would say the converse, though, is...
Unless it's Shadowdark.
You can have random encounters, right? But based on that random encounter, there should be something that could be long-lasting or have an effect. Like, Critical Role is actually really good at this, by the way. They'll have a random encounter. There'll be these thugs, and they basically defeat the thugs, but they don't kill them, and they try to tell them, they threaten them and take all their stuff. And then the thugs come back another time, like, oh, these guys, but they're much weaker this time. It just turns into a hilarious scene, right?
Yeah, I've done that as well, actually, where I brought the thug back, and then the player's like, hey man, how's it going?
Yeah.
I did something fun lately.
Yeah. It looks like you want to jump in there, Keenan. Go for it.
So my players are in a massive underground cavern, and one of the encounters that they had was with a purple worm, which is big enough, even at like 9th level. This thing's a big enough threat that it could wipe the party or kill a couple players at least. Which is fun. I love throwing big, overpowered monsters at the players, especially if it's like one monster. Because, there you go. There's a purple worm. Purple worms are
sticker.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
The whole show about that. Kill, fester, kill, purple worm, whatever it's called.
Come to all my figurines back.
So, but what the players did was the cleric used a spell that allowed them to basically throw a wall of water, basically from the nearby underground river at the worm, and the worm was slammed into the stone wall of the cavern. So what did the worm do? It burrowed into the rock and hasn't been heard from since. And so the players have been sort of looking over their shoulder a little bit ever since then. Like, this thing's going to come out of the freaking wall at some point. Like, it's going to, like, we didn't kill that thing. It's not dead. It's just burrowed. It could show up anywhere in this dungeon. So, obviously, I'm going to scare them with it.
Well, there's this book right here that Platinum put out, that's like part of the Heroes Limited series. It deals with it has this character class in there called like a demon hunter class, but rather than being a demon slayer, the entire focus of the class is to build a character who basically tricks the demon into going away. Like, most of their combat skills deals with how to wrestle demons, and the pressure points that demons find painful. And so the goal is, if you get into a fight, you're actually wrestling them to a point where they get a submission hold or something. But like the key point that they basically with this character is that if you chase off a demon, all you're going to do is have the thing be pissy, and it's going to go torment somebody else to take its frustrations out on. So all you've actually done is create a problem for somebody else. And so the entire point to the character is to try to get the demon to leave of its own accord. So it's like a role-playing exercise as opposed to a combat, which might be why I don't have as many people want to play it. But it's an interesting point where, like, the consequence element is literally built into the character from day one. And I find it interesting because, like, consequences are more of a thing for the game master to think with, because players rarely have that viewpoint. Like they just want to go slay the monster, and they don't really think about, like, what happens when they try, and what happens if you fail, and if the monster gets away, what happens then? And they just look at the immediate victory. And so, like, GMs, I think, when they're thinking in terms of consequences, you in a way, you have to be prepared to, like, kind of teach your players a little bit about, like you're kind of like conditioning a different way of thinking about the game sometimes.
Yeah, you can mess with players that way too. Like on Curse of Strahd, my players killed this angelic type being, and it disappeared. And I go, "Oh, it disappeared. It makes you feel any better. It's not really dead. It just went to its plain existence. Who knows? Maybe you'll see it again someday."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh,
yeah. Like, well, hey, if anything, you actually did him a favor. Now he's freed from this place.
Yeah.
Well, to tie our last episode and this episode together, I had a point where the characters killed it was Jarlaxle. They killed a powerful pirate, and they just started going on being like, this is the European group, and they started going on about, oh, that guy's powerful. He probably had someone with like a clone spell on him or something like that. And I'm thinking, yes, yeah, that's right. Well, and then they're always looking out for him now.
Yeah. Well, there's another side of it too, also with the consequences discussion, because, like, it kind of gets into the idea of reading the room a little bit, which we talk about periodically. But, like, I have also had players that simply don't handle the consequences well. If you throw the consequence of their actions back in their face, they can't comprehend why they're being victimized by the world, because
I think you're picking on them.
Yeah, well, because I've had one player in particular who specifically ultimately confessed that the only thing he actually wants is to beat up people that can't stand up for themselves. And when the world pushes back, he doesn't handle it well. And I think if you what you want is, you want people at the table that are going to be in on the game. They're on, like, when they see these consequences as, oh, there's a story here. We're like, cool, like, the things are actually happening. But if you got a guy like that who just, like, he can dish it out but he can't take it, that's not a good thing to have.
It's usually people living vicariously through their character, which is not a good thing. It's you gotta have a character. Like, if consequences come up with one of my characters, I'm like, yes, I did something. Right?
Did Keenan freeze?
Yeah, he did.
No,
he's just very still, I think.
His eye moved.
His eye moved. Okay, yeah. Keenan, you messing with us there?
Yeah, sorry.
We thought you froze. That was like really still.
Yeah.
Apologies. So this goes back to what I said in the last episode, which is that the most important ingredient of your campaign is the people you play with.
Yeah.
You're going to find people who don't vibe well with, basic standard human consequences to their freaking actions.
Or human conduct.
Or human conduct because they're terrible humans. And so what you do is you don't play with them. You find better friends to put around your table. Now I say this while acknowledging that I've had problems with this.
You're not the only one, Keenan. It's you
remember
I know who you're talking about. We don't have to go any further. we'll
you had one too.
Camera.
I remember yours too. You complained about. I never met the guy, but you complained about him so much.
I was just talking about him. So
that was him.
Okay. So
was he also the guy?
No. We're not going to do that because these people might actually watch the show. But the point is but these are not like original experiences. These are not unique to us, right?
No. But it is going to be
a lot of GMs, a lot of groups have to deal with people that really aren't a good fit, and it's unfortunate.
It has to be addressed with honesty and with some intestinal fortitude. Yeah. It takes courage to say no to a person who shouldn't be at your table. It takes courage to say, this was working until you came here.
And the players will always look to the GM to do it.
Right. And it's the GM's job. And it sucks. It's the worst part of a GM's job. Hands down.
Yeah.
The worst part of a GM's job is rejecting players who shouldn't be at the table.
So I've had some bad players, especially ones that try to live vicariously through their characters. And so like whenever anything bad happens to their character, it's like bad to them in real life and they hate it. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. But I've never actually had to kick someone off of a group, I don't think.
Yeah. You've had a player who,
oh, never mind. I remember now.
Right.
One.
No,
that was not anything to do with the game, though. That was stuff outside the game.
Right. Well, I was thinking of like you had a game you're running, and you had one player who decided he was going to shave all the flesh off this person's hand. I'm like, I'm out. Can't do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jesus, Greg.
Like, that guy ended up. That guy was a psychiatrist, believe it or not. But
okay, well that makes a bit more sense.
But I can get along with just about any player. I will say if someone is a bit picky, and they don't like when bad things happen to them and stuff, I tend to ignore them more, and they're not like critical to the consequences and stuff like that. And to me, that's just like the worst thing you can do to someone because it's not fun. If I were the player, I wouldn't think that's fun. So I've never felt like I really had to kick anyone off for game reasons.
I have been in that position more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then again, most groups I've played are like friends I found, and then as friends we got together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just unfortunately like. Well, I kind of like it's a dovetails off the consequences thing, but like if you run your game and you're running it, it's interesting actually because like there are people that specifically do not want an experience which reflects real life. They basically want a cartoon or an anime, right? Like they want to be the center. They want to be the center of attention. They just want to run through the world, have this adventure, but they don't want to actually have to own up to anything, right? Mm-hmm. They think they're the center of the universe, and that's fine. But that's not the kind of game that I want to run. And so it's like, if you have people like that, and you're fine running those kinds of games, then I think it's probably going to go fine. But the whole point of the consequences thing is that I think there's a kind of an essential relatability to the storylines when you do it that way, because you're building them off the people's actions, you're making them part of the story, but you're also running a game that probably more closely resembles real life. Because like if people go into a store and they hold up, the cashier for some money, quick cash, and think they're going to get away, I mean, the police should show up. And then
you can't steal their stuff and then go and sell it to them
correctly. Yeah, exactly. So it's like the
Like Grand Theft Auto.
yeah, totally.
I was thinking
But-
Skyrim, but yeah.
Yeah, but,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Put a bucket over the shopkeeper's head and you can steal everything, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, you are creating experience which kind of like matches player expectations, and somewhere, the ideal that you have as a GM and what the players are hoping to get have to meet in the middle somewhere. And if they can't, then it probably means you've got some of the wrong, like either you're the wrong GM for these people, or you got somebody at the table that doesn't fit.
Kind of harkens back to our session 0 episode.
Yeah.
Way back when in our playlist.
Yeah, exactly. So, like finding the right players is key, and you're not going to fit with everyone, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's an episode.
Yeah, I think I think we got an episode 2.
All right.
And we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah,
I tried not to derail.
Yeah,
I didn't derail this time, did I?
No, you don't. You did great, Keenan. But no, I do think that, like, for me, if you're focusing on storyline, and trying to build a story that builds connections for the players to the story, I think that finding ways to take their actions and have those actions have a direct impact on the world, and positive and negative, I think that's really important for building those connections, building a story, and discovering what the story is. And the players are definitely going to take things more seriously if they know that there are repercussions for the decisions that they made.
And
the only thing I would add to that is to reel it back a little bit when it gets, because you can get into a loop where the players are struggling to dig themselves out of the circumstances of their own.
Yeah. Don't dig the hole deeper.
I was about to say, the one thing you want to be careful about is that you don't get to the point where, like, every conflict is happening because of mistakes they've made. Like, they start to feel like they're just creating all the chaos. Sometimes they are, but you don't want them to feel like, I guess, what reminds me of, maybe this doesn't mean anything to you guys. If you watched the Flash episode, Flash on CW used to be on, there was a point where it was just like he was creating his own supervillains over time. It's like, if he didn't exist, none of this would happen, and that's kind of a bummer when you think about it. So you don't want the players to feel like that. I was once in a campaign where we lost every single battle, and everything we did was failing for us, and that didn't feel good. So maybe that's what you're hinting at.
All right. Yeah, well, we definitely avoid that. All right, well, let's cut it right there.
All righty. Well, thanks everybody for watching the Game, and please like, subscribe, and if you have any stories to share about consequences in your game, please leave that in the comments. We do read the comments, and we'll reply. Let's make it a conversation.
Or in real life, why not? Just put a comment about something happening.
Or in real life, yeah.
That
could get interesting.
how you got hauled in front of the judge because you were speeding.
Yeah.
And,
how you stole all that stuff, and now you're typing from jail
and drove through a church. How how you drove through the parking lot of an apartment complex while evading the police and ran into the back of a Honda with a Castle Grayskull sticker on the back of it.
It's very specific. Yeah, just don't admit to any crimes that you're not, if you don't want any ramifications,
Or tell us how you faded to black.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Until next time. Bye.
Keep geeking.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky.